Programs are still in development, but we are going to be focused on networking and education and awareness and hands-on demonstrations so that everyone can understand what the goal is and what this really looks like in practice. And our members are people throughout the entire supply chain, seed to sale. So we're really focused on connecting everyone and building a team to get this industry off the ground. So with that said, I have Roman Vyskocil from Michigan, and Steve Tomlins will be helping him today. On his hands-on demonstration, he's going to be building a doghouse, and this is, I believe, the first doghouse in the U.S. that's being built, correct?
One of the first. I've only seen one.
One of the first. So history in the making here in the hemp industry today. So you're all part of it. So, Roman?
Me? Okay, hi. My name is Roman Vyskocil. Thanks everybody for coming here. I'll give a little short talk, but primarily I just want to get into the mixing of the Hempcrete because I think with the 3 hours that I have, I'll probably end up running out of time. I suggested we could play a little music in the background while we're doing this because this, not only in terms of education, it's got to be fun, you know, we got to have a good time, relax, so we could do that. Other than that, my name is Roman Vyskocil. I live in Michigan. I'm a member of the USHBA, as Dawn talked about the organization. I've been involved in cannabis for quite a few decades. Consumption, growing, medical marijuana, caregiver, and then I really got into the Hempcrete about 3 years ago, and it just took off because I see that that's where the curve is. So basically, I'm not here to talk about CBD. You know, you say the word hemp and everybody's like, oh, you're making CBD oil. No. There's, you know, they say what, there's 50,000 uses for the cannabis plant. THC is one, getting high. CBD is another one. So then you got 49,998 other uses. And all of those, you know, fortunately come from a dioecious seed crop, meaning pollen. Okay, so there's been a lot of talk and there's a lot of hostility against pollen, cross-pollination, contamination. The bottom line with that is it is up to each farmer to mitigate his or her own risk, period, bottom line. Without pollen, we wouldn't have plants. And everybody talks about all the industrial uses of hemp, meaning fiber or hurd or grain crops. That all comes from a dioecious crop. Dioecious meaning that there's a separate plant, a male and a female, where the pollen comes from the male, travels to the female, and that's where the seeds are made, and then the seeds are mixed. They could either be male or female. Without pollen, you couldn't have a grain crop. And without, you know, and the way that you grow this type of hemp for this type of purpose, you know, you're probably planting 50 seeds per square foot. You're not going to do that from clones. It's cost ineffective. So yeah, I could go on about pollen for a long time. But basically, we're here to do a Hempcrete demo. Who in the room is familiar with Hempcrete? And who knows what it is? Okay, so what Hempcrete is, it's nothing new. I'm not teaching you anything new. What this is, these are ancient, you know, 1,000-year-old technologies that people have been using for over 2,000 years. There's still Hempcrete structures in Rome that are standing that are over 2,000 years old. The secret ingredient, and I do not want you guys to share this with anyone, because the secret ingredient for Hempcrete, besides the hemp hurd, is lime. And you know where I got it? Menards. So there is no secret. It's super simple. It's really, really simple. And what Hempcrete is, or hemp lime construction is basically hemp hurd, which is this. And this is the inner core of the hemp plant. So if you have a hemp plant and you peel the fiber away, you have this inside left, and that's what the hemp hurd is made out of. And the reason it's very good for construction is because if you look at it through a microscope, it's basically these tiny little cells, like almost like tiny little Lego blocks that are just stacked up on top of each other, and they're hollow. and the fiber grows around it, which gives the plant structure, so that's why they could grow tall. But because of that little airspace and the way it lets water and air flow through it, when you mix it with lime, it makes just the best building material. It's not, you know, they talk about green building, and this is a step beyond green building. This is healthy building, because, you know, what green building is basically making a home that is as airtight as possible, utilizing petrochemical building products such as OSB, Tyvek, vinyl siding, paints, caulk, and all that stuff. That stuff off gases. All of this stuff breaks down. So like when you're sitting, or carpets, when you're sitting in a room and the light's coming through the window and you see all that white dust, those particles, that's your home, and you're breathing that in. And using Hempcrete eliminates the need for all of that. Because what you do, like I have the model here set up, you basically put the Hempcrete in here, then you remove everything, and that's your complete wall system. It provides insulation, it's waterproof, it's breathable, it regulates, yes?
What kind of insulation is it per inch?
It's rated, our value is like 2.2 per square inch. So like this is not gonna have that high of an R value, but if you were doing a home, again, depending on where you're building a home, you're not gonna build the same type of Hempcrete home here in Minnesota that you would in Florida. Because if you're building a home here in Minnesota, you're mainly building it to keep heat in. In Florida, you're building it to keep heat out. So it's a slightly different formulation of the Hempcrete, and these are all recipes, you know, these are all site specific and regional specific, and yes?
I was just gonna ask if you use rebar?
If you use rebar, certain metals react with the lime, so you have to be careful what kind of metals you put in there. If you do use metal, there are techniques. You could coat them with some kind of like, you know, roofing rubber or something, and then you could put Hempcrete around it. But there are chemical reactions that you have to be careful of if you are using, you know, because of using the lime. And lime is caustic, so when we're doing this, there are some safety precautions that we'll take. And let me ask, is there anybody that wants to help and volunteer and work on this? Is there anybody?
He does. He just walked out.
Okay, sure, great. Then you guys come up and we'll, once we get started.
Roman,
Steve.
Hempcrete's not necessarily structural material, right?
It's not, no, it's not structural. It's actually a low density type of material. Like concrete is high density, meaning that if you bend concrete, it'll crack. Hempcrete is actually pliable. So that's why I have these posts in the middle. You do have to create a framing within the wall. So this is like an internal framing. You could use a post and beam where the wood is exposed and just fill the gaps in between the wood. There's Hempcrete panels. They're starting to develop like sit panels, if you guys know what that is, like a structurally insulated panel, I believe, where it's laminated, and that's really where the technology is going. Because instead of doing this, if you could create those sit panels and then you just put them together, kind of like putting a walk-in cooler together, and then you just got 3 screws, next wall up, done. Everything built to specifics, yes.
Is it fire retardant?
Yeah, it's completely fireproof.
And mold resistant.
So like once this dries and cures, I could take a blowtorch, put it on it, and let it blow for 10 minutes, and it'll glow red, but as soon as you take that blowtorch off, within a few seconds, you can touch it.
And it won't affect the integrity of it?
No, no. Because of the lime prevents it from actually combusting.
And the lime also presents a lot of fungal growth and mold retardation too.
Yes, it's I mean, well, you know, it can get mold. Like on the bottom, what I did on this frame, it's basically treated plywood, but I wrapped, it's like window wrap on it, because since this is a doghouse, it'll probably be sitting on the ground. You always want to have a barrier between the Hempcrete and the ground, because water will come through it, and then you can get mold.
But like not on interior, it's less likely than like.
Oh yeah.
Like what's that chalky board
So you put it on top of
Gypsum.
concrete?
Yes.
All right.
for your base?
Yes.
All
Or you
right.
could actually do even a subfloor out of the Hempcrete. But if you do a subfloor out of the Hempcrete, you want to make sure that you have an air gap between the Hempcrete and actually the bottom of your foundation, because air, again, is what's insulating it.
Yeah.
But, yes.
Why do we need to separate the fiber from the core? Why can't we just like use the whole thing?
Because because fiber doesn't have the properties, like I said, that the center core, the hurd, it's, if you look at it in a microscope, it's like little boxes. The fiber are threads, so that doesn't have any insulative value. But they do use fiber in certain applications like car panels. In Europe, they're using it on car panels. So you do like a bioresin with hemp fiber, and then you can make a very, very solid, like a plastic panel.
So the fiber, I've heard, could be used to replace fiberglass to help the internal strength. So
Exactly.
you could use the hurd and the fibers.
I've had ideas like to make like panels. Like what you could do is you could probably use the fiber and weave some kind of mesh cloth where you lay that in the middle of it, and that could provide But again, it wouldn't provide vertical support. It could. I mean, you could do blocks. They're doing blocks out of it, and what they're doing with blocks to create the structural support is they're actually putting like wooden pegs in it, so that they stack like Legos, and then you have that structural support kind of staggered throughout it.
To have structural support, how thick does it actually need to be? Like,
The wall.
I guess just on, and it's a standalone. Can you make like a product such as like a drywall? Can it be that thin and still have structural support? Yeah, something like that.
This is hemp. This is pressed hemp board.
That's structural.
Is that possible to do with the lime though? Like more of a Hempcrete product, more of a particle board,
Panels, yes,
or
they
not
are doing
less of a particle board?
Yeah, they're doing
more.
panels.
Okay.
Is that
Yes.
still got phenylformaldehyde in it then, or is
Sorry?
Is that phenylformaldehyde hemp panel?
No.
Or how is it made? How do you make the hemp?
It's a bioresin with hemp, and then it's like heat pressed.
It's a soy-based
Yeah. It's
resin,
a
yeah.
plant-based like
That's nifty.
polymer
That's
resin.
improvement.
That's an
And that comes from Larry Serbin out of Canna Grove. And I'll have flyers on our table. We'll have a table, and we'll be, there all weekend talking about this stuff. And I have contact information for all of this. Like this is a hemp stain, a hemp-based stain called Hemp Shield.
That's cool.
That I did a little, color sample on one of the pieces of wood, and it comes out really nice. And it's all natural. So like I said, the off-gassing, whatever is coming into the air while things are off, you're breathing healthy air, clean air. Regulates the humidity, regulates the temperature, and it's waterproof. It does absorb water when it gets wet. So, like for this doghouse, if I was building a house, normally I would plaster the outside and even the inside if you'd like. But for a doghouse, I'm not doing it. This is just for demonstration purposes. And already, even doing this, I see all the design flaws and how I would make it better already. But yeah, you would normally plaster it, and even when you plaster it, that lime-based plaster, it absorbs water to a certain degree and hydrates itself, but then if it keeps raining, the water just runs off. And it naturally permeates the water through the wall so that it maintains, humidity of around 70% inside of the structure. And again, yes, sir.
Excuse me. I remember when I was young, I had a wheelbarrow.
Uh-huh.
My dad says you put so many shovelfuls of concrete from this bag in here. You put so many shovelfuls of sand in here, and you put gravel in there. What's your formula for making good Hempcrete?
Let's see it.
Yeah, it's specific to the region and to the type of structure that you're doing. I'm using a very simple recipe here, and this is basically a lime cement. So what I'm using is type S hydrated lime, and you can get that at any store, any Menards or Lowe's or Home Depot. And then I'm using Portland cement, and then water and hemp hurd. And I'm going to be doing some tinting, so I have some colors, which is iron oxide basically, which comes from clay, so it's a natural color. But those are the basic ingredients. But each recipe could be tweaked. You could add sand, you could add other polymers, other pozzolans, you could add clays. Because some people don't like using Portland cement because, again, it's from the concrete industry, and as you know, the concrete, the building industry and especially the concrete industry, they're huge carbon emitters. So if you're trying to be green and sustainable, to use any kind of, carbon positive materials, people shy away from it. But using Portland cement in certain applications, I would advise, because it gives it a little bit more strength and resistance to mold. So like, for example, if I was building a house and it's an area where you get a lot of snow, you either have to have a big enough overhang or do the first couple of feet with Portland cement. Just, you know, if you're gonna spend the effort and energy to build a structure, you might as well utilize a little bit of Portland cement to ensure that it'll last a lot longer instead of molding or deteriorating by not using it, because you're trying to adhere to like super green principles. But you can do it. And hemp is not the only thing that you could use in this mix. Like a sunflower, a sugar cane. Sugar cane actually is a really, really good substitute for this. And you know, we keep trying to force like hemp into areas. Okay, you got to do it with hempcrete. But you got to think about the area. Let's say you're in the Caribbean, you know, like Puerto Rico, for example. If sugarcane grows there really, really well, you know, don't reinvent the wheel. Use the sugarcane and incorporate it into a lime mix so that you can use the local sugarcane instead of bringing another crop there and going through the effort and trying to force that crop to perform when you already have one that's performing well. So it's about, you know, easy, affordable, sustainable, you know, local resources that you could use. And I believe this type of slime came from Wisconsin somewhere. I don't know where the cement came from. This hemp herd was donated by my friend Time Work. It's a company called Hempville, and they're out of South Carolina, and this is a domestic hemp herd product. So I'm really thankful for him for donating it. Yeah, that's basically it. So does anybody have any other, yes?
I have a question on prepping for the hemp herd. Is this a decorticated product?
Yes.
Like and so only certain facilities can make this to spec that you would need?
Yeah, and there are specs. I mean, I was looking through this, and there's this is really nice herd. It's not very dusty. I made him sift it again before he shipped it over here, so I had like really good quality. But there are some bigger pieces in there, but it really doesn't matter because it'll all kind of weave in together when we put it in there and tamp it down, and that's what creates, you know, the structure. So basically, like if we finish this today, I could take all these forms off and it'll stand on its own and it's not going to fall, hopefully, or collapse, or hopefully we won't have a wall failure. But if we do, then that'll be a great learning experience because then we could, you know, think about what went wrong. So yes.
So I think following up, can you do this on a small scale, or do you have to have a big facility that would do that?
No, you could do this on a small scale. You could make a little. I mean, I've seen little machines with 2 little wheels where you crank, and you could do 1 stem at a time. But you know, they have a herd master. It's a machine that's coming out of Latvia, and I believe there's a company that's going to be producing it here in the U.S. And that's like a micro deporting machine. But you know, to get enough herd, first of all, you have to have enough of the right type of hemp, and CBD isn't necessarily the right. Anything with CBD is not the right type of hemp. Yes.
Okay. What about someone that's growing for grain? Can the herd be used for
I would say
grain
yes.
crop?
I would say yes.
So you can get kind of 2 supply chains going.
Yeah, so that's kind of like your dual crop. You know, you're taking the heads off, you know, with the combine, you head it, and then you just cut and bale. But you got to let it rut in the field. If everybody knows, retting is retting is a process where you let the hemp stems lay in the field for a period of time because there's a bacteria that enters it from the ground and gets in between the fiber and the core, the herd, which makes it easier to separate the fiber from the herd. So like if you've ever seen those old pictures of the hemp standing in like the teepee fashion on the ground, that's what they're doing, is retting it so that the base is attached to the ground so that bacteria can enter it and make it easier to separate the fiber. And then basically it's like a chopping machine. You know, it's like something where it's going and you're feeding the hemp stems through it, and then the fiber gets pulled out and the herd just falls out. Yes?
Are there certain varieties or strains that best?
Yeah, you know, the stuff that's like 15, 20 feet tall, those are the ones.
I mean,
Do I have any names? No, I don't have any names. But
So
the seeds
I know the China has a official China variety, like their country's variety called the Hanma. I know that one. I mean, just from the pictures we've seen in the tests that have come back from you know, growing that variety back in America.
Have they grown that
they're-
variety in America?
Yep. Yeah, we
Did
have
it
a few
perform
testimonials.
similarly to how it does in China?
Yes. Poor germination rates, but yes, they are like, you know,
That may be
15,
due to shipping.
15, 18
Well,
feet
you know,
tall.
the germ rate, see, to really harvest hemp at the right time, you're harvesting it a little bit earlier. You're not really letting it come to full flower, full, you know,
Right.
maturity, because you still want the stalk a little bit supple. And if you're growing for a grain crop, well, then you are taking it to full maturity.
Right.
But, I mean, I'm sure there's an in-between, and it could be utilized, you know.
Right.
on both
It's like a
ends.
60-40. You gotta, just like with the trichrome heads, you want to kind of
Yeah.
catch them when they're at that point. You know, most of them haven't gone because you want to give it that little bit of time so you
Yeah.
get the majority. But, you know, like you were saying too, those are the varieties that you're going to be planting 50 seeds a square foot. You know, I think it's recommended at 500 an acre, 500 pounds.
Yeah, like 50 pounds.
50 pounds, sorry, 50 pounds an acre.
40 to 60, depending.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds like a lot, like what, 50 seeds?
Yeah, you know, 40 to 50 plants per square foot. That's
Yep.
So,
what
but you
you
could
want.
also
Drilled in
do
like
this,
barley.
you could also
They
plant less
grow
than
so
that,
big,
and
how
then
can it
let
be?
them go to
They
seed,
don't.
let the seeds
They're-
hit the
they're
ground,
tall.
save some money.
They don't
and
branch
not buy
out.
as much seed, and then the next year you'll have this huge field of weed that's just freaking great. Just leave it standing, they'll all drop their seeds, and you won't have to redo it. You'll just be harvesting and harvesting, you'll drop enough seeds harvesting. But
Possibly,
what kind of money are we talking on this? Is there actually any money in this yet?
That's later this afternoon.
For there to be money in this, I mean, you need to be doing like 1,000 acres, you know, for
So
it to be
there isn't
really
any small
worthwhile.
farmers in
And
this.
again, you know, for there to be money in it, I mean, the great thing about cannabis is it allows people, you know, local sustainability. And I'm talking about on a very local basis. Like there should be a decorting plant within 100 miles on in every single state, because to grow this crop, let's say in Texas, and then there's a decorting plant in Maine,
Yeah.
so then we'll ship it to Maine. After about 200 to 400 miles,
Interesting, South
this
Dakota.
crop loses its economic value because of the shipping costs, because you have to do it in such large volume.
And I think it's important to stress, you know, we're creating, it's a new agricultural commodity that we're creating from the ground up.
Yeah.
You know, the sugar beet industry is one I think we should all be looking to, and how they created a lot of their processing plants that, like you said, with a certain amount of radiuses. It was really set up in a cooperative model too. Farmers really had an input and an ownership in that equipment and that material, and had competitive selling advantage too on the open market. Once we do come with once there's enough of it, then it becomes commoditized, and there's not such a fragmented, it's who you know, and
You have to
Yeah.
have the facilities in place, and then the farmers have to be growing the right crop to feed those facilities. You know, to build a facility for $5 or $10 million, and then to have enough, biomass to run for 4 days, and then you lay everybody
down.
off. It's not a good model.
Right.
Anyway, are there any more? Yes, go.
Comments on the dual purpose, like grain
Yeah.
versus fiber. Haven't grown quite a bit of grain. When we grow grain varieties, we don't want them to get tall. They're visible to harvest then, so there's not a lot of fiber there. It's a couple feet, heavy enough.
Yeah, there's not, but if you have relatively straight stems and you can figure out an efficient way to process it, it's a little bit more economic value that you can get out of that crop instead of just letting it sit there, disking it in, or tilling it up. And depending on how many acres you're doing, it could be worthwhile.
So when you're talking about an economic value and just letting it sit there, that helps build your soil biome. So, and if it contains nutrients, you want to compare what nutrients you're removing versus what you have to replace into the soil. So there's a lot of calculation
It's
that goes into
complicated.
the
There's a lot.
generalities.
I mean, these conversations can go in a million directions
Yeah.
forever. But anyway, if there's not any other questions, I kind of want, yes.
Do you have like a volume per acre or something like that to create so many square feet of?
So out of like 1 acre, if you're doing like a 9-inch thick wall, you could probably get maybe like a 600 to 800 square foot house.
How many pounds of production do you get per acre with the correct
I don't
cultivars?
have that answer. I don't have that answer, I'm sorry. Yes. Oh, well, I could figure it out. No, I could figure it out.
What's your formula?
much math.
What's your recipe?
The recipe is basically this herd came loose, so I had to pre-weigh it. But basically, if I'm doing a full mix, it's about 33 pounds of herd. That's what the typical pressed bales come in. Then you're using 25 pounds of lime or whatever binder that you're using, and then I'm using 6 pounds of Portland cement. And wait, am I giving you the full batch or half batch? Which one did I give you?
33 pounds.
33, 25. Wait, is that the one? 25? No. It would be it would be half the herd. So it would be 16 pounds of herd for 25 pounds of lime, 6 pounds of Portland, and about 6 gallons of water. Yes.
How is the construction industry, and I'm assuming that's your main end user, is it commercial or is it residential?
It's okay. So out of all the hemp, there's probably, like, as far as I know, about 100 hempcrete structures in the country. A lot of them are tiny houses or sheds, and the reason people build those is because you don't need a building permit if you don't run water or electric to it. So a lot of people do these in their backyard. There are some homes that have been built that have gotten permitting. I'm working on a hempcrete project in southwestern Michigan, where we approached the township and educated them about hempcrete, and they're willing to give us a permit. But again, for each region it's specific, and because we're farming and we were going to build it on the farm that we're farming, and we'd be selling our own product, because of the Farm to Right Act, we almost qualified for ag exempt, where we wouldn't even have to pull a permit. But that's not what I want to do. I want to pull a permit, and we are going to pull a permit because it's eventually going to be a commercial building open to the public, selling all hemp apparel, smokable flower, CBD oil, and it's going to be built out of hemp.
Is that scalable in terms of one enterprise or one farmer growing this and building this, or do you have to have something like a co-op?
Co-ops are always the best, and a lot of farmers, I think that a lot of farmers, they've been waiting on the fringe, and the really big farmers that are doing 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 acres. Don't grow CBD. Like, my advice is, if you grew CBD last year, let's say you did 50 acres last year, this year my advice would be maybe do 5 and do 5 well in a greenhouse, because the more people that grow CBD, there's only a certain market saturation rate and a threshold that the United States can handle. Like in 2018, I believe the threshold was about 70,000 acres that the market was able to absorb, and in 2019 there was over 600,000 acres planted. So not probably the 25% field loss. A lot of farmers are still going to be sitting on biomass in the 6 months from now, from 2019. And then if everybody wants to double production, you're killing the value.
Have you grown CBD?
Yes. Yeah. We started with 200 acres last year. Do you know how many we harvested? 1 acre out of 200.
Drawing capability, like drawing power, storage.
Multiple reasons.
Wet.
Yeah. Yes.
So, are you saying that this product's not allowed in residential yet? Like, if I were to go,
It is, yes, they do, but you have to work with your local municipality, and that's exactly why I want to pull a building permit, because I want to create a model, at least how I got to
Is there a
do it.
large-scale model to mixing this that you've come up with?
Yes, there's machines that you could use. I mean, we're doing a very simple thing here, bucket brigade, Like, I can't believe I'm going to be making concrete on a carpet in a hotel room.
A standard cement truck could mix.
No, like a paddle mixer or a trough mixer. Circular is better.
So you can't get it?
If you're going this way, like in a barrel, it tends to stick, and then trying to get it out of there is difficult. They have spraying applications. They have machines where you can spray it. where you have basically like an auger that you're feeding it into. You have a long tube hooked up with a very high PSI compressor that you hook into a nozzle, and that's blowing the air, and that air blowing out of the nozzle sucks that mix through, and then you can just basically spray a wall.
Slurry pump them.
Yeah.
Do you have a preference on what's better as far as spraying it or tamping it? Like,
Each
with
one
that
has its
pressure
own
or-
purpose. Each one has its own purpose.
So, are there national and state building codes where this is
The
accepted?
ASTM and the ICC, they have not approved, they have not certified this as a building material, but we are working on that. The USHBA is.
So there is a path.
There is a
to that.
path, you know, I estimate maybe hopefully within a year or two, they'll certify it, you know, as a building material, and then hopefully it'll blow up, but then again, we have to have enough deep cording facilities and enough farmers growing to supply it, you know.
And that's at a local growth within that network.
Yes, yeah. But that's all happening, it's happening more and more. I'm surprised how fast it's grown even in the last year, how many people are interested in it.
So, do you have a kit with all of this stuff in it that you can send to like a school or a 4-H group or an FFA
See, I thought
group?
about doing this because I have 2 kids, and I was like, oh, Maxella, I thought of a business for you. We'll make dog houses, kits, and we'll just ship, you know, and I've been thinking about that. I think there's too much risk, and there's too many variables in terms of people working with it, and then because the lime is caustic, you know, there's some hazards. You could, you know, at your own risk. But in terms of mixing it and doing everything, I think there's a lot of risk for people to fail and then to create. Yes, it can be done, but in terms, I'd rather do like a little sit panel kit where you could do it that way, or make little balls.
If
Yes.
you had forms
Mhm.
to form the Lego blocks
Yeah,
for the kids in school, and they could make Lego blocks.
yeah,
Just to do it yourself, hands-on experience
yeah,
to educate.
yes. Yeah, you could do it, absolutely. They're making blocks in Canada. There's a company that's doing them for actual wall purposes. There's, yeah. So. Anyway, are there any more questions, or can I start mixing?
We'll
Start
mixing while we do
Okay,
this.
who
We
wanted to
can
volunteer and
get
help?
$5
All right, come on up.
Go up there. Come on, Mohammed.
How many do you need?
Go, Mohammed.
Oh, will be enough.
Go, Mohammed.
You might. You could watch.
Yes, I did.
He took it back.
Mike.
And I believe in free will.
So, okay, we'll be working with the lime. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add the water, add the lime in here, and we're gonna mix it. I'll need it's like 2 people can hold this when I mix it, this is just to use the dog for that first thing. Then I'll add the Portland, then I'll add the color. So these first 2 things will be red, and we'll put red on the bottom, and then I'll show you guys how to tamp it in. There's gloves there. Who's ever going to be mixing it, I definitely recommend you wear the yellow gloves. If you want to wear a mask, I would say you wear a mask if you're around this, because if you breathe it in, it's caustic. If it gets on your skin, it's also an irritant. The more you get your hands in it, I probably won't wear gloves because I'm not going to be working with it too much. It's not poison, but it's an irritant. So safety also with this form, I tried to make it as safe as possible. Be careful when we're putting our hands in here and tamping it for splinters. And I did put screws in here, so there might be just a couple of thin screw heads sticking out somewhere. So don't, be aggressively rubbing your hand along the sides if there's screws. Be gentle. And then once I mix the lime, we'll add it to the Hempcrete. Mix it. We'll start putting it in here and tamping it down. And we'll do a little artistic design. And with the tints, some waves.
So on these, or just keep it.
So this is, these are the structural supports. Basically like the braces, and once the Hempcrete is dry, this middle will come out and the sides will come off too. But, and one thing that we're going to be doing with this doghouse is we're actually going to be raffling it off. We'll be selling raffle tickets for $5 a piece. So if anybody wants to participate in the raffle, the proceeds will go for me to cover my costs, and then the rest will be donated to the USHBA. And this will be here all weekend. And, yeah, so. Okay.
Yeah, if you guys want to put on that music, where's the DJ?
Here.
It's a little too wet.
Proceed
It's not bad.
It's not raining wet. I don't think this will fit my name.
I concur.
What's gonna happen with the open fiber so it'll be formed?
We have to wait and see.
Okay, yeah, we can tamp that down. I got a couple smaller ones.
This is gonna kind of stay this way.
We're auctioning this off.
Okay, good.
Perfect.
We'll get the cash.
I think we're good.
So typically you would let it dry a little longer, like a day? Yes?
Yes. Dawn, can you come here and just hold this for a second? I want to take this front piece off so you guys can see where the door is. It's gonna push out a little bit, but that's just because of the pressure of us tapping it in. But I should be able to seal all this up. Okay.
Oh, that's ridiculous. It's all good.
Okay.
Own the truth.
All right, and there you have it. So you can see some of the color patterns. They actually worked out kind of how I wanted to.
Oh yeah.
That's it.
Nice job, Roman. Thank you.
You're welcome. that was the most nervous part for me.
I like that you can see the color changes.
Yeah, yeah.
Dim and